But speaking of a lack of romance, Davy going back to Clare, that's got to kind of kill him in a way. When he left in 2016, after a 5-year reign there, winning the All-Ireland, becoming one of only 13 men to both win the All-Ireland as a player and a manager. But he goes, of resigning. In the weeks that followed, I asked the joint captains who were Cian Dillon and Tony Kelly to ascertain the opinions of the wider panel on whether they would like a change of voice. In light of the ensuing meeting and the divided opinions expressed by players, I've decided to be in the best interest of Clare Hurling that I step down from the role of manager. Paddy, do you think he'll be wired to win this match?
I think absolutely set up. Like this is the way he wants to coach. Like obviously he's a lot of very, very good tactical stuff and looks at it in depth, but like he's a fierce motivator. You'd hear that of former players, like gets inside their head. And so like after a year and a half where maybe the messages can be flagging, because you can't listen over and over to similar messages and similar motivation. Like this is made for him. Whether they'll win the match, they have a great chance. But I would say you'll see a very, very pumped up Wexford, because this will have that extra bit of bite for him. Should show what the players then after that.
Nobody does a siege mentality like Davy does. Like I was down in UL today. I think UL were 1-9 or something to win a Fitzgibbon quarter final, and Davy brought LIT in through the bushes.
Yeah.
And like he loves this, and while he will not say it out loud, he would never say it out loud, this is a dream scenario for him.
He'll want to drive it into a few people.
Oh, he will, of course, yeah. And that's like, you have to respect. He has that. I'm sure he has that bitter kind of element to him as well. It didn't end like he wanted it to end in Clare, so he will have a few axes that he'd love to grind. I remember him saying about a year and a half ago when he took over Wexford that there was a book on the way, and that we'd hear the real story then. Like, and this, imagine like he will have the Wexford lads wired to the moon, and it will be like, it sounds a bit like the old American, do it for the Gipper. It'll be like, this means so much to me, like literally do it for me. And the dream scenario is, if you had told him at the start of the year that they had to beat Clare to get to an All-Ireland semi-final, he would have taken their hand off for it. And if Limerick are to beat Kilkenny, which I don't think they will, and Wexford win at the weekend, they play Cork in the semi-final. If you had told him beat Clare and Cork to get to an All-Ireland final, like it is his dream scenario.
Paddy, what do you think is the value of Davy having coached these players and the insights he'll have on all the Clare guys? I suppose when you were on the Tipperary panel, Micheál Donoghue was part of the setup for a while under Eamon O'Shea, and he obviously went on to Galway, and it's incalculable what he will have learned from the Tipperary players. So do you think Davy will have valuable insight both on the players and the people that he's coming up against?
100%, yeah, he has to. Like, if you're watching somebody every night in training, and then you see what their strengths and weaknesses are, then you're reviewing every single match that they play. So you're reviewing it with them, and you're going through what are you good at, what you're not good at. You're going through what are my backs good at, what are they not good at. Then you certainly have an insight. Like, nobody knows themselves; they shouldn't know themselves, like the team manager. And as well, like what Verney was saying, like he's very, very bitter when he goes back to places, I find. And even I remember playing Fitzgibbon, and a couple of players were on our team in the final going around for the parade, and he had him with club previously, and he wasn't short in letting them know what he taught him. So he does like going back and letting them know, I'm the bigger boy here, and he likes to get one over on him. So I can see it being, he'll really be pinpointing some of the players that he thinks are key for Clare, and obviously the likes of Conlon and them, we'll probably get onto it later, but he will pinpoint them, and he'd hope that maybe, like the Cork game second half, that the leadership from the rest of the group mightn't be up to par. Yeah,
a couple of years ago when he was managing Clare against the Waterford team that he had managed beforehand, he told them that he had 2 All-Irelands and they had F-all. And I think previously he had managed Waterford in 2010 against Clare and beat them as well. So it's not his first rodeo either. Do you think like we're making more of this than is actually the case for him? No.
I think it's a massive deal for him. Saying that on the other side, without putting too fine a point on it, half the panel obviously didn't want him, or a certain amount didn't want him. So this is Clare's opportunity to drive on as well. Like, so you'd imagine there would be a fair bit of motivation there. But yeah, and he's kind of played it cute with the comments he came out with last week, just saying, I'm not going to play in Clare, I'm not going to rise it or anything. But like on Saturday, come 3 o'clock, he will be wired to the moon.
What do you think are going to be the key matchups here? If I'm Davy Fitzgerald, I'm looking at Tony Kelly and I'm saying I can't let him go and score 5 or 6 points from play. John Conlon is the forerunner for Hurler of the Year. I have to make sure he's locked down as well. So what's Davy going to do about that?
Conlon, I think Liam Ryan is tailor-made for Conlon physically. I think he's one of the best defenders as well. I think he'll put Conlon on the back foot in the sense that he likes to go forward as well. I think Sean Murphy playing in front of him will give him that kind of license to really attack the ball. Maybe very few people have been able to get around Conlon in the sense that he's so powerful that he just seems to kind of brush lads aside. But Ryan knows that if he's marking him, that he has a little bit of a safety blanket and he can just go for ball as hard as he likes. With regards to Kelly, it's going to be interesting to see who will follow him. Again, I think Murphy's role there will try and cut down a lot of the space for Kelly in around that area as well. But I know you have a different opinion on it.
Yeah, see, here's where I disagree with you. I think that if you look at horses for courses, Tony Kelly's going to float. Liam Ryan has got a lot of pace. Now, he normally plays full back, and you can see why. He's absolutely brilliant at it. But on a horses for courses scenario, maybe Liam Ryan's speed will work well on Kelly. Matthew O'Hanlon is a strong guy who's often put in for man marking roles. Maybe Matthew O'Hanlon's physicality will work well on Conlon, and then the space that's in between, because we know Kelly's going to float out the field, you can have Sean Murphy kind of standing in front of the full-back, in front of O'Hanlon and Conlon, and also cutting out the space that Kelly floating would create. Paddy, what way do you see that working out?
I probably more see it your way, because I take Verney's point. If it was an orthodox backline, I would have Liam Ryan probably on him, because Conlon can go both ways. He's fast out in front, but he's very, very powerful. But if you already have Sean Murphy sitting in front of him, I go with a big, powerful man right behind him and say, no, well, they're not catching any ball, and we're going to make sure we break every ball down to Sean Murphy. Now, it might not always work out like that, but I think they will pack their backline. And I think that will. Now, I got Liam Ryan on. I think they might leave Liam Ryan in beside there. I actually think Tony Kelly, one of the fast cornerbacks, reckon whoever could go out and Tony Kelly, they stand beside him for the whole match, and then see can he get any scores, because I think Tony Kelly at the minute looks like a fella who's just working as a decoy runner. And I actually don't think it's right. I think they need to be getting a lot more out of him. But he seems to be a lad that's open in the middle. Now, granted, got the ball against Cork and ran through the middle, and it just shows can't leave it open. But I think Liam Ryan and O'Hanlon inside in that full back line, get one of the cornerbacks, man marking Kelly, Sean Murphy sitting in front, you have Foley over on Peter Duggan, and I think you're very, very strong that way. But Liam Ryan wouldn't have been a bad choice on him either.
Yeah, I just wonder in terms of how the two teams are going to set up. If we move to the tactics board just briefly, I would imagine that you're going to have Conor MacDonald as the sole man inside for Wexford. I'd say you'll have Rory O'Connor, who's been exceptional playing there. You'll probably have Paul Morris and a couple of more guys floating in around the forward line. At the other end, I think you're going to have Shane O'Donnell, John Conlon, Podge Collins floating, and this is going to be the dilemma for Sean Murphy. Like, it's brilliant being a sweeper when your team's on the front foot and the ball is coming in slow and laboured. But if you're being dragged all over the place, there's fast ball being pinned into corners, you're in an awful lot of trouble here.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Just on Shane O'Donnell, I'd love to see him striking a bit of ball. Really now, I can't fathom the fact that he just does not shoot anymore. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's positions that he gets himself into to take scores himself, and he passes to somebody else, and sometimes it works, sometimes it breaks down. I'd love to see him cut loose at the weekend and get 3 or 4 points, because he's well capable of it. He's barely scored in the Munster Championship this year.
Well, isn't it interesting actually that as a corner forward, and we know he can score, like he's been brilliant in certain games, even setting up. But Conor McGrath is also wildly off form as well. He's been in and out of the team as well. So, is there something where we can say, okay, there's a trend here where Clare forwards are misfiring for a certain reason? I
don't know. And what Paddy is saying about Tony Kelly being a decoy runner, I don't know if all these guys are like. I think Shane O'Donnell is playing for the team way too much.
Is there too much talking going on about this is your role rather than go out there and hurl because you're a brilliant player?
I think possibly, like, Shane O'Donnell is far too selfless. He needs to be way more selfish as a forward, and like, for Clare to win, someone like him is going to have a game. They're going to have to hit 3 or 4 points. They're going to have to put a few scores over. Kelly, as Paddy said, Kelly hasn't been in that many games this year, really. Like, even in the Limerick game, he came second half, yeah. But it's all kind of sporadic, kind of little bits and pieces here and there. Like, for them to win as well, they're going to need 70 minutes out of him. They're going to need Peter Duggan on form on the freeze as well. They can't afford to be missing some of the chances that we'll say we missed in the Munster final. I think that mentally for Clare is going to be interesting as well. Like, how much did this like they collapse in the second half? There's no point in saying any different. How much of an effect does that have? You can't always say, oh, you'll get a reaction or you'll get a bounce because, you know, they had a bad second half or whatever. They're going to want to come out with a point to prove. Maybe. I was watching the UFC actually the other night. That Francis
WWF as well.
Francis Ngannou was fighting, and he's one of the best strikers in it. He's one of the best knockout artists. But he had been dominated in the fight before that, and he was like 1-4 favourite to win this. But because he'd been kind of pulverised in the previous fight, he just didn't throw a shot. He'd lost confidence completely. I wonder what Clare's confidence is like at the moment as well.
I actually wonder what both teams' confidence is. Peter Duggan has been unbelievable on the frees throughout the championship. In the second half against Cork, they weren't happening for him as well. And if you look at the Wexford forward line, I think they're relying too much on Rory O'Connor, their young gun. They've had about 5 different free takers, and I think the likes of Lee Chin and Conor MacDonald, we need to see more from them. For those reasons, Paddy, who do you see winning this game and why?
I think what Verney said, I think Clare's confidence could be fairly hit after the last day. I think Wexford will look, and I think Wexford, you know, they have plus and minuses, but they're massive battlers. They have a huge work rate. They'll make it very hard for you to score. They're not going to give you that really easily, and they'll try and cut down the space. Clare did very well in the first half. When John Conlon had a lot of space up front, they dominated. But I don't think Wexford will give it to him. I can see Wexford winning this match. As I say, Davy going back to his old stomping ground. Like, he'll probably, you know, you would think he'll set up the right way for the danger man, which is Conlon. And I say I can see Matthew Hanlon on him, Liam Ryan on Shane O'Donnell, because Shane O'Donnell has had a couple of bad games, but he can create havoc. You know, and I think Liam Ryan and him try and nullify him, and they have a great chance. The point about the likes of Conor MacDonald, I think I've been looking at it for a while, even since last year, and as a young kid at 19 or 18, he was manhandling fullbacks. Any ball in, just hit it into him. And he was catching them, he was touching them down to himself, he was shooting off the back foot, everything over the bar. Again, he looks like a man who's just probably maybe thinking too much. He's playing a role, he's playing a position, and that's all well and good. But the likes of him and Tony Kelly need to be scoring. Like, you know, they need to be the ones that actually do the damage. The other lads need to be doing the roles. The lads who aren't as good, the likes of the three of us, go around to, you know, carry the can for the likes of them. They shouldn't be doing that role. They should be in there pulverising and making it very hard. Like the likes of TJ Reid. That's what he's doing. He's getting man marked. But he is the scorer still because he's keeping at it. Shane McCallan has to do it a lot. Patrick Horgan has been really tightly marked now. And these are the players that get you over the line. And the likes of Conor MacDonald, the likes of Tony Kelly have to be doing that no matter how hard they're marked. But at the minute, I think it's they're creating space for other players that aren't as good as them. So I think they need to grab the reins.
Well, can you talk to me then about striking a balance between possibly not enough tactical setup with the likes of Tipperary and too much micromanagement of roles with players in the likes of maybe Clare and Wexford, as we're suggesting here?
Yeah, well, I think it's maybe they're coming from places that aren't as strong, okay, and maybe Tipperary are relying too much on having hurlers that are able to play off the cuff. And the likes of, you know, some of the teams like Wexford have been down a little bit so have Clare, and they're saying, right, well, we'll get our structures in order and we'll play from there. And to a point, they're right, but like I look at the Clare team and I think that's 3 under-21 All-Irelands and looked like they were mesmeric when they were under-21. And I know it doesn't just transfer over, but we've seen Podge Collins in the past has played some phenomenal hurling. Tony Kelly has played brilliantly, and I know they're getting tightly marked, but this is inter-county level, and you just expect a little bit more from them because they are so good. Like former Hurler of the Year, former nominee for Hurler of the Year. These lads have got what it takes, but whether it's a confidence thing, maybe they need a bit more, the likes of Clare need a bit more time playing more free-flowing hurling because they have, you know, under Davy, it was a rigid enough formation. But I don't see, with Wexford, I just think Conor MacDonald, he's playing that role of maybe dragging players out, or he's dragging one of their main players out to corner forward, like their full back, maybe rearranging their back line. And I just think I'd love to see him stuck in there, bit of supply ball, and like he's given likes of Pairc real hassle before, and I don't see a reason why he couldn't do it now.
So Paddy's going for Wexford. Michael, call it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very tight. I don't think you could have a huge amount of confidence in either, but I'd say I'd have a small bit more confidence in Wexford, and I think they might just get over the line.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn on this as well. If you were to say who are the very best players on the field, you're looking at Podge, you're looking at Kelly, you're looking at Conlon, then on the other side you're looking at MacDonald and Chin, who aren't exactly
They
flying.
need to deliver. Now, they need to deliver, and Chin hasn't delivered in this championship yet. There's no point in saying any different. He hasn't, and he needs to produce something.
And you could 100% say Wexford have definitely improved since Davy came in at the start of 2017, but have they kicked on again this year? Are players kind of going on another level again? I'm not 100% sure, so for that reason I'm just about going to go for Clare. I was beginning to believe in them this year up until that Munster final, but look, I'll give them another shot for this game as well.